Ooh, that doesn't come standard. Anyway, HeadAmp. It's a name I know. It's a name you probably all know. And can you guess what they make? Mostly headphone amplifiers. Company contacted me and was like, hey, we want to send you the Gilmore Lite to review, and you send it back, okay? And I'm like, okay, I know HeadAmp. What do we got? Class A, like that. Single-ended only, so no balanced, with 2 inputs and a switchable pre-out. Just switchable on and off. It doesn't switch to a line out, which would be, that would just make it a pass-through. So you're going to do that with just a splitter anyway. Look at these giant rubber feet. Just want to point that out. Super duper heavy duty. Feel like I would install this in like an Abrams tank, and it would be fine. It would just fit right in an Abrams tank. Just like, it's not the smoothest finish, but it just rugged is the word. So let's look at the back. You got input 1, input 2, pre-out with the switch for on and off. Your power supply DIN, which I'll show you the 5-pin, and here's your power switch in the back, which I dislike on everything ever. Made in USA, so automatically tack on some monies. This is not cheap because Made in USA, Gilmore is an actual name of a designer. This is a miniaturized version of his. That's why it's called the Lite, and then the Mk2. So there's some interesting topography going on inside of there to simplify things. Like I've seen, like I didn't even bother opening up because the pictures online. That's not a picture online. But anyway, the pictures online, they don't really show the inside. Yeah, they do show the inside. Here it is. And it's like, there's nothing in it. There's like nothing in it. There's like nothing in it. There's some caps in the back, some little ones, some resistors, and that's it. So, I mean, okay. Yeah, oh, sexy. Let's go back. Power supply? Yes. It reminds me a lot of the ones you use on your fish tank, because it's a big fucking brick, which I've labeled HeadAmp, which I need in this mess up facility. So if you need a label maker, I'll link to that in the description, because you can't buy this on Amazon. Anyway, so what is this pushing out? It is a 5-pin, which is it the same or similar as the one on the Owens? Owens are 5-pin, right? Yeah. You'll know more than me. Taiwanese made, 15 volt, positive and negative at 1/4 of an amp, which doesn't seem like a lot. Yet this thing will still draw 10 watts. So there's your little 5-pin. It doesn't lock. I don't think this is proprietary. I've made a Zeos of this. Okay, run that neatly around. Yeah, oh, it's beautiful. Oh, look how clean the lines are. Let's plug this in, and power switch is off. You always want that. That's one of the biggest things. I was reading the manual because it's so complicated. Here's the manual for the Gilmore. It literally talks about the design. It talks about Kevin Gilmore. And then it talks about the warranty and says don't open anything. And then it says plug in headphones, and then you're done, and then there's a switch. So this is what I like in a headphone amp. If you're just going to be a headphone amp, be a simple headphone amp. There's no gain switch. There's no nothing. There's also a power on the back, which is annoying, but we'll get to that. So let's plug in a source. Now I always source the things on my desk with, especially if they're RCA, coming off the JDS Labs OL DAC. And we'll go into number 2 for a change, because I've been running into number 1. And I want to see something. Pre-out off, that won't matter. If I had powered monitors, you would plug them into this, and then you would go, I want to listen to headphones, and then you would switch that on, and then it would send RCA signal out variable. You'd also have to unplug the headphones, because it still works the headphones and the pre-out at the same time. So the switch, I think it does that actually. Hold on, wait. Let me verify that I'm not completely full of shit. Power on. Would you like you to note, this may be the first occurrence of an amber or yellow LED for power. Ever? Standby, you get the amber all the time, but for actual power? Oh, we gotta go to 2. Down, switch. Yes. Just verifying. The headphone still works when you turn the pre-out on. If you're listening, HeadAmp, and I'm assuming you are, it would probably be beneficial to everyone involved if that switch killed the output to the headphones. Because I'm a big proponent of not having to unplug anything. Just plug it all in, and then it's just switches and buttons. If I have to do this all day, it's killing me, it's killing you, it's killing society, really. So, I mean, if I'm switching the pre-out on, that means that I want something other than this working, unless you're one of those people, and I know you exist, and if you are one of those people, please comment below, that plays your headphones and a subwoofer at the same time. I know some of you are going, what, people do that? And yeah, there's people who do that because they want that whole body effect of low end. And the only way to do that properly is exactly a system like this, where the headphone is controlled and the pre-outs are also controlled all at the same time, and you set that to match your particular headphone, and then the volume will raise that and your headphones. And have I tried it? I've tried it, but I've never been serious about it. And God, could you imagine if you got used to that and that was your thing? Like, hold on, I'm just gonna go into my room and listen to my headphones. Fade to black, because you'd have a subwoofer, only a subwoofer going and listening to headphones. So, but most times I think people are gonna go switch, and then they're using studio monitors, because you can, again, you could feed another amplifier with this, but since that's a pre-out, then you have a volume control here, and you're gonna have a volume control there, unless it's a power amp, like if I use my Behringer, or if you use a Vidar. Those are like the types of like power amps that have no controls, that are just like, all right, feed me signal and then you control it here. But you're still gonna have to unplug this to use the back pre-outs properly without worrying about, oh, I put my speakers on, turn this up. I need a little more than that. Meanwhile, that high on this would probably decimate these 1060s. And you won't be able to tell because there's studio monitors playing. So it's better off if when you flip a switch for pre-outs to work, the headphone shuts off. Or put another switch. It's all the switches. I'm waiting for something with all the switches. Looking at you, IFI, you seem to have the market cornered on switches. But back to this. I really do like the design of it, just the big, bulky tank build of it. I like the label on top, nothing in front but phones and input. And then we get to this volume knob, and it has the same problem that I have with a lot of volume knobs, and companies should know by now. The Emotiva here had no indicator of where the volume control was. It's just a smooth knob, 360 degrees. And I bitched and moaned, and then I took my label maker, again, the Dymo that I use for this. In fact, you could see the head amps are sliced on the ends because I took a piece of the label and I cut it with a scissor and I applied it to the knob, just like I applied it to the knob there. Because if I pull this off, the only indicator you get is a drilled hole 180 degrees off of the actual pointer, and where it is just a divot. I can even almost, I don't want to peel up. I'm going to send this back to HeadAmp. The company loaned me this. I'm going to send it back to them with that attached. Please, every company watching who's considering sending me anything, for the love of God, indicators are meant to be indicating. It's not like you're reaching into it, like here, hold on, just the volume, and it's under here and you can't see it. It's right there. And I can tell where that is, and now I can tell where that is, and I can tell where that is, and that's way too high. I better not plug my headphones in. It's just one of my quirks. It's just, stop. Thank you, for the love of God, for not putting a blue power LED, or even now white starting to get on my nerves. Green, red, amber. Actually, if you had 3 of them, it would be a stoplight. I'd have to stack them properly. Ooh. But yeah, anyway, as far as build goes, as far as quality goes, nothing bothers me but the lack of indication. There's a little black divot in this giant black knob, and that's supposed to be like enough, and it's not enough. It's not enough. Be inventive. I would point to my Aris, but my Aris is missing. Mostly because that exists. Although that has a higher noise floor for sure than my Arist. But my Arist is just like a big red... Look, this is where your volume is. And if it's here and you plug things in, shit's going to blow up. And this is not the most powerful amplifier in the world. In fact, it's only pushing out 1.5 watts. But, Class A. For those of you who don't know what Class A means, Class A means all the fucking time. That's all you got to know. Class AB, which is like this is Class AB. Most amps are Class AB. That means they're switching. That means if there's nothing playing, they don't amplify anything. And it's up to the circuitry, and when something finally does tick off, it will turn the amps on and off. It'll valve them. It makes them much more efficient. But purists, and I'm talking about real purists, do not like Class anything but A, because Class A, I was messing with a Krell amp at a guy's house, and it's from the 91, and I plugged my kilowatt into it, and I was worried it was going to melt my kilowatt because it was Class A, 300 watts per channel. So, doesn't that mean it's running 600 watts all the time? No. It was loading capacitors up and dumping them constantly like a pump. So it was 1300 watts, 600 watts, 1300 watts, 600 watts, 1300. It's never, this amplifier right now with nothing plugged in and no music playing, if I pause the music, nothing, is amplifying everything that's going into the back of it. It's amplifying it fully and sending it to the front. No stops, no I should be more efficient. I got my kilowatt here, the kilowatt edge hooked up, showing me 12.5 watts of usage. Now I got some other power bricks here, but they're not into any working appliances. So this is just sucking all the power all the time, amplifying everything. And the reason that audiophiles love that is because any let's say you put on a track that's pretty much silent, those microscopic fibers that you get on your hair, if that started making sound, it's being amplified. That's the Class A thing. With big speakers, with headphone amps, it's not trying to be efficient. A lot of times you get a lot happier in life when you try to be less efficient, i.e. this shit. But yeah, so that's Class A for you in a nutshell. It just means the amplifiers are running full tilt all the time. I'm amplifying noise and wind and nothingness. I'm amplifying it all so you don't miss a beat. Let's plug some more headphones into this. Hold on. 200-hour long reviews. I did pause it. Now, I was swapping back and forth between the X7S and this because I was thinking about pulling out my Magni 3 because I still have the Magni 3, which is going to be sold in next month's yard sale. And by next month, I mean January 2018. And if you're seeing this possibly in January, then it's already for sale or it's going to be sold already. And then you look for February's yard sale, which patrons have access to, because that's a good reason to join the Patreon. Next, so I was plugging it back and forth just with that. The Magni 3 is very similar in power. Actually, the Magni 3 claims higher wattage. But we're talking about Class A. I don't want to just mix everything with everything and say, okay, well, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and start plugging into everything. So I left the Magni 3 put away, and I started switching this and that. The Aoun and this. And I want to say that they're so close you can't tell, but I could kind of tell that this was different. Now that could be two-part. Either the amplifier in this is a little bit warmer, a little bit wider, or the JDS Labs DAC that's feeding this is different than the Aoun X1S DAC that's feeding that, and it's a compounding difference. Because we're getting the same optical signal to everything on my desk. So we're just talking about the combo of JDS Labs HeadAmp versus Aoun X1S, X7S. A little bit, just a little touch wider, just like I had to do it for about a half hour. Plug, plug, back up, plug. So I think you're getting a little bit more for your money, but you're paying more. And I'm talking about this, like if I have to sit here for a half hour doing this to tell you that, oh, well, the HeadAmp sounds a little more than the thing, then you're probably going to be okay if you don't choose it or do choose it. You'd basically grab one of these. Nothing I put into it sounds bad. Like I haven't hit the limit of it. And I got these out. And these are my, down all the way by the way, T20 RPs. The T50 RPs got abused and used and abused. So I thought the T20s would come out for a while. Because they're still, you know, Mark 3s and they're still a pain in the ass to drive. And I still think they sound the best on Emotiva Basics. But I mean, I'm at halfway on this, which you can tell because, you know, I put an indicator on it. And if you can't tell, they're very loud right now. A little bit of corn in there. Otona Rock Jump. Otona Rock Jump. I don't know, I found this album a long time ago and everyone keeps asking me about it. Completely acceptable. No high-low gain on this, which I thought would have been weird, but I think with Class A, I think the benefit of this entire amp is less. Just fucking less. No switches. I'm surprised it even has an on-off. They want pure simplicity. I have noticed an issue, however, other than the lack of indicator, that's a little, not more worrying, but it's something they probably should address. If I switch, I'm on input 2 right now. Here's my source, Otona Rock is playing. If I switch to input 1, which is empty, and then I turn this up, oh, I have to unpause it. I could barely hear it playing. So there's a little bit of signal leak between the two inputs. I mean, I'm at maximum gain in order to hear it. Like if I'm back to half where I was just playing it loudly, I could still just barely make it out. So there's a little bit of probably a shared ground in there that's just touching the signals from 1 to 2 and 2 to 1. If you have two signals coming in and they're two sources and they're both playing simultaneously, and you switch from one to the other, I would know in the back of my head that if I'm listening to 1, 2 is playing. I just can't hear it because the music's up, but 2 is definitely being mixed in with my current song. That's a little OCD. My OCD would click over. But if you're only using one input, or you're stopping one source and not the other, that's really not going to bother you at all. Switch that back over. Yeah, I'm pretty sure once you pass like that much, you're not going to be able to hear any leak from the second input. So yes, these work. Now let's go to my new bay, which if you haven't heard, have you heard? I have heard. And I have it on my adapter wire because I really don't have a good 1/4 inch for my Sennheisers. Hello. These are my 660s. The new 660s. Back against the wrecking machine. Okay, I'm just gonna start singing now. Hello. You see what I mean? Okay, I'm gonna stop singing. Yeah, these are fantastic, by the way. And they get powered beautifully by this. This is an amp that you buy if you don't want shit, if you don't want to wait for a own, or you're worried about the... HeadAmp is an actual company with people that you can contact and they'll help you, and it's going to hold its resale value. It's legit. This is just the baby steps out of like where everyone else buys their shit. And when you go to like Can Jam, and people would be using this to demo full headphone rigs. So I approve. It's a little pricey, but you're paying for a man to put it together. You're paying for a man to design it, or the modified design. You're paying for it to look like this and be simple. The simpler things are, the more expensive they become. Just like when you get a race Porsche, GT3 RS has no airbags and no this and no radio. It costs $20,000 more because it's got nothing in it. And that's very similar to what's happening here with this HeadAmp. I don't like the rear power, but I mean, it works. I don't think you're stacking anything. So much approve of this. Whether you're going to run out and buy one, I think I gave it a good enough review. I mean, it's it's more than this, but you're paying more than this for this. So you get an American made. It's up to you. I love the way it sounds. Now that the review is over, I have to send it back, and it's sort of sad. But I've got quite a number of things lined up. So let's see what else HeadAmp has to offer. Maybe they'll offer to me to throw it through my ears, my ever so not trained ears, which people love to make fun of me on Reddit for. CS doesn't have good hearing. It's terrible. I only have opinions here, people. So yes, HeadAmp link in the description, wallpaper link in the description, Patreon link in the description and in the upper right hand corner. A couple things coming up for the yard sale this month, next month, every month. You also get to see these reviews early if you check the comments, and there's like a comment down there from 4 weeks ago. How is this possible? They see it first because they're paying to see it first. So if there's a run on HeadAmp Gilmore Lite Mk2s, they get the first crack at it. And yeah, and I think I'm going to actually do this because it's been a while since I've heard my 1060s, and planars love a solid state Class A. So I'm going to end this now. And give this some Dynatron. Next time.